Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us once again on the State of Freedom.
The State of Freedom is a listener-supported podcast. We're committed to pursuing the truth about policymaking, decisions, and situations in Louisiana and at the national level that stand to impact our freedoms.
Please become a monthly supporter of the State of Freedom at freedomstate.us as we continue to expand the voice of liberty across Louisiana and beyond.
Meet the world's first living, full-spectrum, certified organic CBDA hemp extract. Ness's hemp oil was extracted from seed to bottle without chemicals, solvents, or heavy metals, and it surpasses world-class standards for purity. This pure and powerful CBDA has been proven to reduce aches and pains, ease mental tension, and promote better sleep. To get yours today, visit the Shop Our Partners page at freedomstate.us. Welcome to the State of Freedom, everyone, where we are committed, and you, our faithful viewers and listeners, are committed to giving voice to the truth, to being people of courage, and to being people who take action. It's Thursday, September 18th at 10 a.m. Central. I'm Danielle Walker, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Chris Alexander. We are coming to you live on Voice of the People USA TV and radio network, on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. Wherever you're watching, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends. It helps us out so much. And comment in the chat. We want to hear from you. Well, joining us today is a woman who's been committed to the truth, who's long seen the failures of the medical establishment and has not backed down in the face of persecution by the medical machine. Dr. Mary Talley Bowden is an ENT and sleep medicine doctor in Houston, Texas, and founder of Breathe MD, a private clinic. She hosts the Mary Talley Bowden Show and continues to be a fierce advocate for truth, transparency, and accountability when it comes to COVID and to the government's approach to public health. Welcome to the show, Dr. Bowden.
Thanks for having me, Danielle.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Well, we love to start out the show with a scripture just to set the tone and help frame our conversation. So today's scripture is 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verses 1b through 3. And it says this: how easily we get puffed up over our opinions, but love builds up the structure of our new life. If anyone thinks of himself as a know-it-all, he still has a lot to learn. But if a person passionately loves God, he will possess the knowledge of God. And as I was reading that, it just struck me that passionately loving God is the key to humility. It positions us to pursue God for the answers that we're seeking. It positions us for discernment because of instead of reflexively believing what's being reported or what's being taught or presented as fact, we can set it before the Lord, and Holy Spirit will guide us to truth. And passionately loving God is the key to wisdom. Proverbs 2:3-6 says it this way: yes, cry out for comprehension and intercede for insight. For if you keep seeking it, like a man would seek for sterling silver, searching in hidden places for cherished treasure, then you will discover the fear of the Lord and find the true knowledge of God. Wisdom is a gift from a generous God, and every word he speaks is full of revelation and becomes a fountain of understanding within you. So my challenge to us today is this: let's make a point to step back from the news or whatever we're studying and spend some time in worship to recalibrate our thinking and our emotions so we can hear what the Lord is saying and so he can lead us to the truth.
100% agree, Danielle. And it's interesting that Dr. Bowden, from what I've read about her, has not been puffed up about anything. She was simply making the very reasonable request that there be an open and honest debate on the evidence regarding the efficacy of the COVID vaccine, and for implementing practices that in her own personal experience successfully treated well over 6,000 patients with early treatment protocols. That was the basis of her persecution that she received for doing things that work, that are effective, and also for warning against the vaccine mandates. I mean, what a hero to people who seek the truth. And Dr. Bowden, at the start here, just want to tell you on behalf of the state of freedom and all our listeners, thank you for the courage of being an early pioneer for truth. Based upon what we've seen, your position and your practices have been and continue to be vindicated, which we are so gratified to read and to see. So, thank you for taking a few minutes to be here with us today. What a treasure and a tremendous example that you've been.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think the key to all this is the open mind and the humility. And I didn't have a knee-jerk response, oh, these vaccines are awful. I'm not recommending them to anybody. I mean, everything that I have stood by was for things that I have witnessed firsthand. And it's keeping an open mind and just yeah, like the verse said, the humility brings you the truth, and just not assuming that you're right or that everybody else is wrong or everybody else is right. And it's that open mind which is key to scientific discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to mention here, excuse me, I have to mention here your 2024 book and give it a plug. If you want to really get a clear understanding, comprehensive understanding of the pandemic and how it all went down and all the misinformation that was put out there, you need to read Dr. Bowden's book, Dangerous Misinformation, the Virus, the Treatments, and the Lies. I put that book up there, right up there with uh, RFK Jr.'s book on the real Anthony Fauci,
Wow.
knowing the truth and knowing really what you need to know. And really, that's all you need to read, those two books. So I strongly recommend getting that book and reading that book. Um, Let me ask you this, Dr. Bowden. You treated just before we get into anything else, you treated thousands of COVID patients with ivermectin and probably combined with other things. What specifically was your treatment protocol? And talk to us about the success rate that you had in that protocol.
Yeah, COVID was interesting. I've never treated that many patients with the same disease in my career, and I doubt I ever will. I mean, all I saw was COVID patients 7 days a week for several years. And I started with, well, initially I started with hydroxychloroquine. And this was, President Trump came out and said it was wonderful, started using it. I personally contracted COVID very early on, and it worked very well with what I had. But then the Texas State Board of Pharmacy actually shut us down. As physicians, we were not allowed. We were completely prohibited from prescribing hydroxychloroquine for COVID. And so back then, I was still sort of a rule follower, and I put it on the back burner. And I didn't have a lot of demand at first for people, coming to me for treatment. I was doing a lot of testing, and that's where I first became suspicious of everything going on. But once monoclonal antibodies came out, I started using those, and they worked really well. And I had unlimited supply. I could get as many doses as I wanted. They show up in my office the next day. Things were great. People were responding really well. And then the government took over distribution of monoclonal antibodies, and this was in I think it was August of 2021. And it became harder and harder to get. And so that's when I started using ivermectin. And I was a little bit nervous about it because of all the negative press. But what I found is using ivermectin, and like you said, in combination for more severe cases, I would use hydroxychloroquine, I would use azithromycin, an antibiotic, and breathing treatments. But I found that I was still able to keep people out of the hospital despite not having access to monoclonal antibodies. And I think they withdrew monoclonal antibodies because they wanted everybody to get the COVID shot. Because they mandated the COVID shots right after they took away monoclonal antibodies. I think it was very orchestrated.
Yeah. Did you know early on, or how early on did you know that the COVID vaccine was not only largely ineffective, but potentially damaging? Did you know that immediately, or
No,
did?
no. I I had an open mind to it. I did not offer it to my patients. But I didn't, early on, I said, well, see, and I didn't get the shot. I was nervous enough about it that I didn't get it. And the reason I didn't, I looked at the study that they did and I didn't like how they conducted the study. It seemed a little bit flimsy. So basically, the people in the test group and the control group, they only got tested for COVID if the practitioner thought it was necessary. I thought they should have tested everybody no matter what, periodically just to see what was happening.
Yeah.
And that alone just sort of made me pause. And plus the speed at which it was coming out, and because I don't have any risk factors for severe disease. But then because I was doing so much testing, I could tell the shots weren't working at all because I was tracking people by their vaccination status. And I found that the vaccinated outnumbered the unvaccinated who were testing positive, and they were just as sick, if not sicker. And then I can't remember when I first started seeing injuries, but I remember watching a meeting, and Dr. Robert Malone was speaking. And I remember that gave me a red flag, what he was saying, especially about the children. I thought that was really potentially dangerous to be giving children this. We weren't seeing sick children. I wasn't seeing very sick children in my clinic. But yeah, unfortunately, 4 years later, I still see injured patients almost daily in my office. People that have been, gaslit by other practitioners, very healthy, get the shot, and then have a obvious side effect, adverse reaction, and which they can't get help for.
It's funny you say that. Not funny, but we had Dr. Ralph Abraham on not too long ago, a few weeks back, Louisiana Surgeon General, and he's still practicing in private practice, and he said that he's still seeing patients every week as well who are dealing with vaccine injuries, and he's having some success treating them with some Dr. McCullough's protocol and other things, but it's just so sad to see, and it's so it all seems so unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Dr. Abraham can relate. I mean, I've never seen anything like this with any other product on the market, right? I mean, we've seen other products come and go. There's some antibiotics that I used to prescribe that are no longer on the market. Uh, but I've never seen the carnage from any kind of product like this, because normally the FDA sweeps in when there is a problem and they do the right thing and they pull it. But
Yeah.
but this is sort of beyond anything that we've ever seen before. It's really hard to believe.
Is it so it's a fair characterization, Dr. Bowden, to call it carnage?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking. The last vaccine injured patient I saw, I guess it was 2 days ago. She's my age. She was a marathon runner, a teacher. She got 2 shots, and after the second one, developed some severe swelling under that arm. And now she has a uncontrollable tremor in that arm that has completely disabled her. She can't run anymore. She's very fatigued all the time. She can't run. She can't teach. Things like that. Her life has been destroyed, and nobody wants to help her or even acknowledge that or entertain the possibility that the COVID shot had anything to do with it when it's obvious that was the cause.
Yes. And the hospital with which you were affiliated, despite the fact that the COVID vaccine was causing vastly disproportionate damage to people, despite the fact that the protocols that you were using were proven in your own personal experience to be largely very, very effective, you were nonetheless publicly criticized, reprimanded, and censured for your actions, for what you were doing by the Texas Houston Methodist Hospital. Ultimately, that led to a defamation suit that you filed. And from what I'm reading, your suit currently is on appeal. Is that right?
Yeah, I sued them for defamation because they proclaimed to the world that I was dangerous, and that I was harmful to the community. which as a doctor is not something you really want attached to your name.
Sure.
Uh, and I lost the suit. I appealed. Unfortunately, my attorney had a stroke in the middle of our
Oh,
saga, and
goodness.
he made a grave error. I basically lost on a technicality. And so I kind of just folded, and I paid them $165,000 in
Good
legal
grief.
fees. But now they're taking me to court because they want interest on that money. Even though we had an agreement, they cashed my check. I was supposed to have a hearing yesterday, but of course it got postponed. So still, things are hanging in the air with that.
So the basis for the dismissal of your defamation suit, the classic defense to a defamation suit is truth. It can't be defamation if what they're saying is true. But it's becoming increasingly obvious that we were lied to. And it's becoming increasingly obvious that the information that they were putting out there was false, both about you personally and about the efficacy of this vaccine. So I'm surprised that your suit would have been dismissed. It was a textbook per se case of defamation. They were attacking you and defaming your reputation based upon lies. And so it's interesting to me and unfortunate that that case would have been dismissed. Do you mind talking a little bit about, if you can, what the technicality was that resulted in that dismissal?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I just didn't sign the affidavit. And that was sort of on the lawyer. And then there was a chance to correct it, and the lawyer didn't respond to that opportunity. And so the deadline passed, and my new attorney said there's really nothing we can do.
So
Because you
administrative,
didn't, because
clerical.
you hadn't actually signed your affidavit.
Right. It's a
Wow.
$165,000 mistake, but whatever.
Wow.
Gosh. I guess all you can do is just breathe through it and keep fighting. I don't know. I'm so sorry about that. That's so infuriating. And the beast is never satisfied, right? Like they're not okay with just taking it as a win, but they want to just keep taking and taking. It's amazing. I've seen this with other cases that are similar to the one that you're facing, where people who are clearly in the wrong aren't just happy that they have an, like in the case of another friend, an unjust judge who's willing to stand and give a wrong judgment. They want to go after that person for everything. It's unbelievable, the evil that's behind it and the insatiable nature behind it. I don't know.
Well, it's actually encouraging that they care so much about and they came to me in this latest round where they're trying to extract more money. They're trying to extract $25,000 from me. And they said they would settle if I signed a non-disparagement clause, basically if I wouldn't speak ill of them. But with my book coming out, that's just impossible. So I hope everybody will buy the book because that's what they don't want.
Yeah.
And the book really goes into fine detail about all of this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, they obviously don't want the truth. They don't want the truth to come out. But I mean, Dr. McCulloch, and so many others, not just you, have you know demonstrated that you're on the right side of this, and they're on the wrong side of this. What is your estimate as to the number of people, if you know, who have been damaged by the COVID vaccine?
Yeah.
Nationally and even worldwide.
Yeah, I that's a hard one because I think so many people are injured and don't know it. First of all, I've seen patients in my office who said they didn't. I had patients come to me because they saw me on Joe Rogan and said, "Oh, that's what's." I mean, they had no idea that
Yeah.
it could have anything to do with the COVID shots. So that's a big concern. I also worry about the small children that got the shots, and myocarditis is very difficult to diagnose, uh, especially if you can't tell somebody that you have chest pain. So if you have a baby that got these shots, they could have subclinical myocarditis, which can leave a permanent scar on the heart and could lead to a lifelong increased risk of sudden death. So that, I think there's a large number of people that don't realize they've been injured. On the flip side, I also see a lot of people who are very anxious that they've been injured, who are well aware of the potential problems, but they don't have any symptoms. So I think I want to reassure those people that you're probably fine. I do think there are a lot of lots that were just inert or not as strong. I mean, I think of it as a big variation in lots. So there's some lots that are more harmful than others. And I would like to try to calm people down that if you're okay now, you're probably okay. But yeah, I mean, I know that on the VAERS, they reported about 32,000, I believe, deaths. And like we know that that's an underestimation. And the people argue about, how much of an underestimation that is. But a conservative estimate, it only accounts for 1% of actual harms. And that's really frightening.
Yeah. But your position on it, Dr. Bowden, is the position of increasingly number of physicians who are qualified to give an opinion, is that the COVID shot, no matter what company or what version of it is, prevents neither the contraction nor the transmission of the COVID virus. Is that established in your view and in the view of an increasing number of doctors?
Yes. And that was the first thing that I recognized with the shots as I was doing a lot of testing. I did not see it decreasing transmission. I did not see it decreasing severity. I believe that this shot is all risk and zero benefit. I don't think anybody should be getting these shots. And what I'm seeing clinically now with people that get COVID, it really is a cold. And, there are people that are higher risk for it, traveling into the lungs, but that's true with any virus. I treat COVID now like any virus. I used to worry about my COVID patients. I do not worry about them anymore.
And kind of continuing on this topic of the shots, a lot of us had very high expectations for when Secretary Kennedy was appointed to HHS and really expected, overnight changes. We wanted to see things happen really quickly, especially when it comes to accountability for COVID. What's your take on what's been done? And then I guess also what needs to be done for us to feel like we can actually move on from this?
Yeah, it's been disappointing. I will say that. And, I'm not in the inside at all. So, the people on the inside are saying, well, we just need patience. He's up against a lot. Yeah, those of us who sacrificed a lot, we basically sacrificed our careers to get the truth out, have a hard time being patient on this, especially when we continue to see the harms on a daily basis. To me, it feels like an emergency and worth taking the risk that there may be some, career repercussions for doing the right thing. I know there is a lot of pushback. I mean, there was a lawsuit that I just read about this morning where there are 19 states and District of Columbia have sued HHS to keep them from making changes. And that they lost. Kennedy lost that lawsuit. It's on appeal. And he lost the appeal, which I just don't understand why does he not have the authority to change HHS? Seems very counterintuitive to me. So I'm sure there are things that I'm just not aware of because I'm just a doctor and I have no political experience at all. But I can just say that the ethical thing to do for the sake of our population is just to pull these shots, put a moratorium on them. Just say, hey, we're going to halt them until we get more data, if that's what they really need. But we have an abundance of data. We have almost 4,000 peer-reviewed published studies showing the adverse reactions from these shots. We have the DMED data. We have disability and life insurance data. We have autopsy data. We have the data on sudden deaths in athletes. We have the VAERS data. We have more than enough data. So I'm not sure what's taking so long. I think we need more politicians to support this. We know that the vast majority of politicians are not lining up to get another booster because they have safety concerns, because they realize that these shots are all risk and no benefit. And if they aren't safe enough for the politicians, then how are they safe enough for their constituents? They need to speak up. They work for us, and they need to do the right thing and support Kennedy.
I
And so
think
why I'm sorry, go ahead, Danielle, sorry.
Sorry, Chris. I'm thinking about a lot of people that are in their 30s and 40s that have just dropped dead out of nowhere. And whenever the autopsy's done, or or if there's a severe heart attack or something but maybe they live, the diagnosis has been that there was an underlying condition, that there was an undiagnosed heart defect or something like that. Do you believe that, or I mean, to me, this points to the fact that the COVID shot has to be responsible for a lot of these sudden deaths and otherwise healthy 40, 50, 60-year-olds.
Right. I mean, yeah, I go by Dr. Peter McCullough, well-regarded cardiologist, most published cardiologist in the country. And if he's sounding the alarm bells, then I trust his stance, because yeah, you're going to find data on both sides of the aisle, and that's sort of part of medicine.
Yeah.
Everything, you can find a pro article and you can find a con article. I mean, I came out of residency sort of putting my faith in my clinical experience more than published articles, because there's an incentive amongst people and academics to publish, and it's quantity over quality. And so the published data that you see, the data that's out there is a starting point. But what's more important is sort of the firsthand clinical experience. And we're all seeing Dr. McCullough. I just interviewed him yesterday, and he was talking about all the people he's seen with heart problems after these shots, and even young people.
Yeah.
And so that weighs a lot on me, more than data, because data can be manipulated. Data is often confounded by the people paying for the publication.
Yes. Yes, very much so. So, uh, there was a time, and this intrigues me, Dr. Bowden. There was a time in this country when uh, a doctor's clinical experience, direct experience with their patients, was paramount and really was beyond reproach, beyond question. Doctor says, I'm using this, it is effective, and it's working, and that's the end of the matter. But it seems as though institutional bureaucrats and the government and the pharmaceutical companies have absolutely injected themselves in the freedom and the liberty of a doctor to be a doctor, to do
Yeah.
what's necessary. And what do you think accounts for the fact that so many doctors, including yourself, have been put in this, not only put in a straitjacket with respect to what you can do, but would be publicly reprimanded and criticized, even in the face of positive results that you achieved? Why is that occurring?
Yeah, well, the pandemic brought it all out. And it was probably, and to some degree, it was occurring before the pandemic. I mean, I went outside of the system before the pandemic. I call myself third party free because I don't contract with insurance companies, hospitals, or the government. And I say, the only people I work for are my patients. Most doctors can't say that. Most doctors are employees. There's a third party whispering in their ear. But the pandemic really brought that stranglehold out, the stranglehold that these third parties have on doctors. It really brought that to light. And yeah, one of my biggest criticisms is we've got these people who are dictating care over Zoom calls, who have no firsthand experience treating COVID patients. And you don't become an expert, in terms of a clinician, if you only see a couple cases here and there. But when you see thousands of patients with the same disease over and over again, you very quickly become an expert. It was very frustrating that no one would listen to us, the people who were out there, especially on the outpatient side, who we were preventing people from getting to the hospital. Because once they got to the hospital, it was all dictated by protocols, and we saw how well that worked.
Yeah. And
Yeah, exactly.
as you're talking about COVID bringing out the fact that these kind of practices were, you know, be doctors were being run roughshod and maybe didn't recognize it before because they believe the CDC, they believe the FDA. Do you think that ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and treatments like that are also an indicator that there are other things that are being withheld from the public, and that would be effective treatments, but are just not being brought to light because, it's not gonna make big pharma millions?
Yeah, I mean, our system is geared towards innovation, coming out with the latest and greatest blockbuster medication
Yeah.
that's going to solve all our problems. And there's no financial incentive to look at what we already have and use things in an off-label fashion and study those because there's just no financial incentive to do that.
Yeah. So much of this seems always to come down to the money, and it seems to come down to what RFK Jr. calls regulatory capture. And I've always wondered how public health agencies can be expected to base their recommendations on objective, peer-reviewed scientific data when they are receiving the kind of money that are receiving from the very manufacturers that have a financial interest in promoting and marketing these vaccines and these products. It just seems like an intractable conflict of interest.
Well, and plus the pharmacies, the pediatricians, they have an extra incentive to give more vaccines. I talked to a pharmacist at Walgreens. She said there was a competition amongst all the different branches to see who could give out the most vaccines, and there was a financial reward associated with that. Their pediatricians are they get bonuses, depending on what percentage of their practice get the vaccinations. And I've been reading Aaron Series' new book, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's just shocking. I didn't know that the hepatitis B vaccine had only been studied for 5 days in 147 patients before it was brought to market. It makes me very angry. I mean, I was not educated on that in medical school. I gave all my kids those shots, and it's unbelievable what they have gotten away with.
Yeah, and it interesting about the hepatitis B vaccine, Dr. Bowden, as you pointed out, in something that I read about you, even though the trial study was very cursory, not very thorough or complete, they still only recommended the hepatitis B vaccine for adults who were either
Mhm.
healthcare workers or had had sexual contact or needles and that sort of thing, and did not recommend it for infants unless the mother had hepatitis B. Okay, and that was the recommendation. And then once the manufacturing companies and the pharmaceutical companies received statutory immunity for any
Mhm.
civil liability associated with damage to children who were vaccinated. At that point, the CDC recommended it universally for infants. Is that a fair characterization?
Exactly, exactly. It's really perverse.
Yeah. And today, and I think it's interesting that you're coming on today. I think it's fitting that you're coming on today because the advisory committee for, I think, immunization protocols at the CDC is meeting today. I think you were trying to look at that before the show started. And ostensibly, they're going to be discussing the hepatitis B vaccine, including whether or not they should continue to recommend this universally for infants. What do you expect to come out of this today?
Uh, I don't know. The buzz seems to be, I get this email from MedPage today, where it's sort of the other side, how they're thinking, and they're panicked. They're very worried that they're going to take some action. So that gives me hope. That makes me think, well, maybe there really is a shot that, and, to me, it's a litmus test. What happens on this hepatitis B? Well, and they're supposed to be discussing the COVID shot as well. I just don't know the details, but
Okay.
both the hepatitis B, the COVID shot, litmus test. If they take action, it shows that yes, things are going in the direction they need to go, and I will maybe calm down a little bit. and relax. But if it doesn't go the right way, it's a really bad sign.
Is there any reason in your professional experience why an infant should be given a hepatitis B vaccine if they have a healthy mother and they're otherwise healthy? Why would you even think about giving a hepatitis B vaccine to an infant in that circumstance?
You wouldn't, and it makes me very mad that I never questioned that before, and that I gave my 4 children those shots without which is blindly following that recommendation. It really enrages me. But yes, there's no way, there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
It's just extraordinary. And what about damage to infants from the hepatitis B vaccine?
Well, we don't know because, the vast majority of kids get that shot. And so we don't have a control group. But it may be one of the many reasons why kids are just so sick these days. Why, we're really not improving our longevity. We're not increasing our lifespan despite all these shots.
But at a minimum, at a minimum, it's completely unnecessary. Just like in your view, the COVID vaccine for a healthy infant is completely unnecessary.
The COVID vaccine is completely unnecessary for everybody, full stop, but especially for children.
Even that, so just to be clear on this, there are some doctors who are skeptical of the COVID vaccine who do say that it may be appropriate in a situation where you have an adult with other comorbidities, and there it may be appropriate in that circumstance. But you're saying it's not appropriate even then.
No, I think it's malpractice to give anybody a COVID shot. I think if your doctor suggests it, perhaps you should report them to the medical board. I think it is malpractice.
Yeah.
Wow.
My doctor told me that I was part of the problem if I didn't take it.
That's
Anyway,
awful.
I left. I left his office. Anyway,
Good.
what do you think it will take to cause a sea change in the medical field where doctors and practitioners wake up and come to terms with the fact that the CDC and the FDA have not been operating in good faith? They've not been operating in the best interest of the people. Big Pharma's not really bringing solutions anymore, or they're not to the extent that the TV would tell us they're bringing solutions. I know I believe you're friends with Dr. Jack Cruz. He talks about decentralized medicine. Is that something that we can? Do you have a vision for that, or an idea of what it would take to get there?
It's such a well, unfortunately, it starts in medical school, indoctrination of
Yeah.
doctors, and that's going to be a hard problem to fix. And then we've got the media against us as well. But I do think the best bet for people is find doctors outside the system. And the good news is we have patients have so much more access to information than they did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we didn't have the internet, and doctors were the final authority on everything. But now patients can really do their own research, and that frustrates a lot of doctors. And I can say it can be frustrating when, because doctors do, when you see things over and over again, you have a perspective that the internet can't give you. But that, it might be every man for himself at this point until we can get some real change.
Yeah. Is are the early treatment protocols readily accessible now in Texas? That's the first part of the question. And the second part is, are doctors still suffering any sort of retaliatory action or censure for prescribing the early treatment protocols?
They just, well, it hasn't been signed into law yet, but the legislature just passed a bill that makes ivermectin over the counter in Texas. And we anticipate the Governor Abbott will sign that, but it's not definite. I know that, and maybe you can tell us how it's going in Louisiana. I know that in Arkansas, even though it's over the counter, the pharmacies aren't giving it to patients, which like So it's sort of it's in limbo. And I know in Tennessee, I've heard that you really have to there are only a few pharmacies that are really doing this, giving patients ivermectin. I really want the FDA to just make it over the counter. It's very safe. It's safer than Tylenol. It's safer than Advil. And so many people are just going to the feed store to get their ivermectin or
Yeah.
ordering it from overseas or Mexico. And this is America. We should not have to go to the feed store to get our medications, and we shouldn't have to smuggle them in from another country. So I really am pushing for the FDA to do something. The FDA branded it as horse dewormer, and I actually sued them over that, and we won. They had to take down
Amazing.
the tweet. They had to remove the misinformation from their website. But they need to help rebrand ivermectin. They need to make a public statement about the safety, that it's not solely for horses. It's very safe in humans. And then they need to make it over the counter. And then in terms of persecution, the Texas Medical Board claims that all the doctors that they went after during COVID had nothing to do with ivermectin, including myself. But when they deposed me, they used the word ivermectin 86 times. I counted. It was an 8-hour deposition.
Wow.
And the complaint itself had ivermectin in there. And I do not think any of my troubles would have come from me prescribing amoxicillin. I think they are they're backing off, because I have made such an uproar about this. But they're still after me. My case is still ongoing, just because I refuse to back down. And my case stems around a patient who wanted ivermectin and couldn't get it. So
So everything here comes down to it's all reducible to the fact that proven effective early protocols for the effective treatment of COVID by doctors across the country, including you with 6 or 7 thousand, thousands of patients, have been effective, and that undermines the agenda of the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industrial complex, and probably politicians, quite frankly, who are receiving a tremendous amount of money from the pharmaceutical companies. So the truth is David on our side, and the Goliath are the lies that they want to continue to perpetuate in order to suffocate the truth. That's the way that I see this. And that's why I see this as so utterly reprehensible. I think what you have been through for speaking the truth, it's not only heroic, but it is so reprehensible that the truth and you're acting in the best interest of your patients would be met with such institutional
Yeah.
hostility. And that, to me, that is what begs for justice here. That is what begs for justice.
Well, I'm not backing down. I'm getting ready to file 2 more lawsuits. I'm getting ready to sue the Federation of State Medical Boards. So we believe they planned sort of an orchestrated attack on all the doctors that were using ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, and they dictated to medical boards across the country to go after us. And I also plan on suing the Texas Medical Board. Robert Barnes is representing me in that. And I think we're actually up against forces greater than Goliath. I think it's
Yeah.
really, uh, I have learned so much about what I'm up against. But I'm not backing down. All it does is just make me angrier and want to fight harder.
Well, you're
Well,
the
I love
sling.
to hear that.
Me
Oh,
too.
go.
You're the slingshot, Mary. You're the slingshot, Mary, that's going to split the head of Goliath wide open, and you already have started to do that. And I can't overestimate the reach that you've had in your social media posts everywhere. You have educated so many people, and I will guarantee you that you have probably saved a lot of lives by preventing people who would otherwise have gotten some of these dangerous vaccines, including the COVID vaccine, who have not gotten it. And so I think that you are owed a profound debt of gratitude from those people, because if it weren't for people like you and Dr. McCullough and others they would still be digesting this lie that we're being told.
It's true.
Well, I was kicked off Twitter for 5 months, and I owe a debt of gratitude to Elon Musk. He restored my account on Christmas Day, which was exciting, and then a slew of other people as well. But yeah, it's interesting because very few people are actually getting these COVID shots, but you wouldn't think that based on how the media covers the story. But and the CDC actually used to post this data, but they mysteriously took that data down. I think it's because the numbers don't support their position. But the last time that they had the data up, only 15% of Americans were getting the COVID shot, the booster, 12% of children. And so the general public has caught on. The politicians need to realize that. And we're still facing censorship. I mean, I got kicked off TikTok a couple weeks ago. I got back on there for about a month, and it did not last long. I'm always on thin ice with YouTube. So we still have a lot of work to do to get the message out. I'm worried about our Surgeon General, Casey Means. If you look into her history on social media, she has never spoken out against the COVID shots. I've
Yeah.
confronted her brother with this repeatedly. He will not go on record to say the COVID shots are dangerous. And the Surgeon General is the biggest, has the biggest microphone for public health in our country. So that concerns me. We just have to keep getting the message out.
Yeah, we do. Well, I am just so grateful for your suits against the medical boards, because these institutions are some of the most corrupt, handcuffing institutions on the planet right now. The medical boards, the legal boards, it's unbelievable. You would think that these are actual professional organizations that have the best interests of the target audience in mind, whether it's patients or whether it's clients, and serving the doctors, serving the interests of the attorneys. But we've seen the exact opposite of that. We've seen those institutions weaponized against the people who are speaking the truth, against people who have a unique point of view. And I mean, they have become the center for groupthink.
Well, I was going to do a shout out to your governor, because from what I understand is during the heat of the pandemic, when doctors were really, like myself, were really under scrutiny in Louisiana, he sent a letter to the medical board saying, you better not go after any of the doctors for using ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. If you do, you will not be allowed to use any of my lawyers. So he put a stop to it. That did not happen in Texas. In Texas, I appealed to the Attorney General, I appealed to Ken Paxton, I appealed to Governor Abbott, and was met with silence. They are well aware of what's going on. Governor Abbott appoints some members of the Texas Medical Board. We need new leadership. There is somebody running for governor in Texas, Pete Chambers, Doc Pete Chambers, former Green Beret. He would be amazing. And I do believe that a lot of our politics in Texas are dictated by healthcare. People don't realize it dominates our economy. And I think healthcare is turning Texas blue. And there's a reason that mandates started in Houston, Texas. I crossed the first hospital in the country to mandate the COVID shots, and they did that on April 1st, 2021. They did it 5 months before Biden, and I think it started in Texas for a reason. I believe they knew if they could get away with mandates in Texas, they could get away with them anywhere. I think it was quite purposeful and a reflection of what's going on in our state.
Yeah. Are there any current now there are no COVID vaccine mandates currently in Texas now, correct?
Well, there is a technicality. So employers cannot mandate it, but we see nursing students, medical students, they're getting around the law and I'm still writing exemptions for people for the COVID shots in Texas. Not as many, but it's still going on, especially in heart transplants. A friend of mine just had to write an exemption for somebody who needed a heart transplant. They were requiring him to get the COVID shot. So it's not 100%, there's a law there, but they've of course found ways around it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Um,
you mentioned the
yeah, go
Meanses.
ahead.
Do you think they're behind at all, the appointment of, Susan Monterez whenever she was appointed to CDC, the shortest lived, Trump appointee in
Yeah,
terms
yeah.
of staying power?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure that out because she clearly was not the right fit based on that hearing yesterday. I mean, she was not like-minded with Kennedy at all, right? So how did she get in that spot? And Kennedy
Exactly.
said he handpicked her, but was he just playing along and being a good sport, or was he fooled? Or I don't know. I mean, the rumor, the one insider that I know thinks it was Susie Wiles that pushed her through. Or maybe, yeah, I don't know. That it really confuses me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is Dr. Bowden? What is the current size of your practice? I'm asking because one of the allegations in your suit is that it is this all of this has cost you patients. So what is the current size of your practice, and how has it been diminished because of everything that you've been through here?
It's more that it's worn me out, in my, I have 4 kids. I limit my practice to so that I can I wanna be the mom first and then doctor second, and, it's steady, it's fine, and my mix of patients has changed, so I see, I ideally, I'd like to go back to being a full-time ear, nose, and throat doctor, uh, and sleep medicine specialist, but I see a lot of people who are injured from the vaccines and, writing exemptions for vaccines, things that, I just never thought I'd do in my practice. So it's changed my practice. It's worn me out so that I'm less motivated to see as many patients. But right now it's steady. It's fine.
Yeah. The fact that you're here today talking so articulately about this and still standing for the truth is certainly a testament to your perseverance and your spirit. There's no question about that, because many people would have collapsed and been utterly destroyed by what you've been through. So that is a testament to your character. Let me ask you this last question. We have our senator from here is Senator Bill Cassidy. During the RFK Jr. confirmation process, he appears to have extracted significant concessions from RFK Jr. in exchange for Cassidy voting to confirm RFK Jr. If you know, to what extent is RFK Jr. still hamstrung by Senator Cassidy, and what effect do you feel like Senator Cassidy has had on Maha generally?
Yeah, I think the power is shifting in favor of Kennedy. That's my sense.
Good.
I mean, like I said, it's just an outsider's view. I don't have any inside information on this at all. But I don't know. I think the fact that Moneris got fired is a signal that Kennedy is gaining strength. I think that the public outcry against Cassidy is growing. I was very encouraged to see Governor Landry and the Surgeon General, Dr. Abraham, call out Cassidy last week on X.
Yeah.
I think we need to prop them up and remind everybody that he's just a senator. He doesn't call all the shots, and there are other people in the state of Louisiana who are very supportive of Kennedy.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you there
Absolutely.
are far more here supportive of Kennedy than are supportive of Cassidy, and that I know on on statistical evidence and polling, which is a very good thing. And look, I think I know I speak for citizens across the state who are hopeful and determined that Bill Cassidy is serving his last term in the U.S. Senate, because, in our view, he has done extraordinary damage to the truth and extraordinary damage to public health.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of, again, he is being financially enriched. He's one of the senators who's receiving probably the most, but he's certainly among the top 3 or 4 recipients of pharmaceutical money. It is staggering the amount of money that he receives from that industry.
That is not surprising. And he also strikes me as very close-minded, and not, lacking humility and lacking curiosity. And and not looking out for his constituents.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well, it is a pleasure and an inspiration to have you with us here today. Keep up your good work. You're certainly going to be in our thoughts and prayers, and just know before you go that there are literally millions across the country who are inspired and educated by your efforts. Despite the setbacks you faced, you are doing tremendous good, and I hope that
Mm.
you know that and absorb that because it is a fact.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
And I hope we can have you back on to celebrate some good news on lawsuits, to celebrate some good news on the MAHA agenda and the removal of some of these vaccines, if not all the vaccines from the schedule for infants. That would be so amazing. So we'll stay in touch with you, Dr. Bowden.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
one last thing? We absolutely will. Is there any, because we asked a couple of other docs who would come on the show. I think Dr. Abraham, we asked, is there any vaccine currently that you would recommend being administered routinely?
Yeah, I just have lost faith in all of them at this point. Just I just don't think we have enough data. Personally, I would be reluctant to give any of my children any of the shots at this point until we really get better data.
Yeah. My wife suffers from horrible guilt, despite the fact that she couldn't have known at the time. But she suffers from horrible guilt about the fact that we had our kids vaccinated, not the COVID shot, by God's grace, but other vaccines. And my wife attributes that to some of the health issues that they've had over the years. So,
Yep.
anyway, thank you for your service to all of us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Have a great one, Dr. Bowden.
God bless.
Thank you.
Chris, you're right. She's such an inspiration.
Yeah, I'm just always inspired by people who have the courage and the stamina to stand up to institutional authority when that authority is provably wrong in the recommendations and the protocols that they're recommending that have caused and will continue to cause such damage. It is, I think it's criminal, Danielle. I think it is criminal that public health agencies and pharmaceutical manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies are not looking objectively at evidence. They're not looking at cause and effect. They are looking at money, they are looking at power, and that is it. And that is a sad, sad state of affairs. I am thankful, I remain thankful that RFK is in the position that he is in. I think he's doing largely good work, and I certainly hope he continues. We could be in a far far worse position, as you and I both know.
Yeah. And, you brought up what he talked about regulatory capture. But as we look at this, Dr. Bowden is like a voice crying out in the wilderness. We are like a voice crying out in the wilderness. It feels like sometimes, and we've been at this now for almost 3 years. A lot of people have been at it for 5 years. I mean, I guess we've been about the truth for that long. Um, but we haven't necessarily had the podcast for that long. But you think about what is all captured by this evil. I don't even know what to say. This evil entity that has silenced the voices of people speaking the truth, that has gone after them mercilessly with lawsuits, with attacks on their professional credentials, with attacks on their family and their well-being. It's absolutely staggering to know, and I think to see that RFK Jr. has been able to fire some people, to see that a lot of federal bureaucrats have been fired. It feels like that's just kind of a first swipe, right? I feel like there's so much more cutting that needs to happen uh, because how can you know what you're up against? You think about President Trump and someone like Secretary Kennedy. being up against this massive, massive beast that they're ostensibly in charge of the beast, but look at how the beast is raging against them. Every power that they have is being questioned and is being shut down by rogue judges.
Yes. And it's so interesting to me that the things that Joe Biden did and the things that Barack Obama did, which clearly fall within the scope of constitutionally delegated executive authority, uh, were never questioned when they did things, but President Trump is being challenged judicially and politically for every decision that he makes. So is RFK Jr. Decisions that we believe are based in the best interest of the American people. I can't I can't help but appreciate the hypocrisy and the gross double standard of that.
Yeah.
That they are being hamstrung, and don't underestimate the number of people who are right around them who probably do not even have their best interests at heart, and undermine them every opportunity they can. The work they're doing is gargantuan. But as I said, I do believe ultimately we're going to prevail. And
Yeah.
I think that most Americans at this point recognize the potential dangers of vaccines generally, but certainly the dangers of the COVID vaccine, and the insanity of recommending a hepatitis B vaccine for a healthy infant whose mother does not have hepatitis B. That to me is extraordinarily bizarre, and that to me is just powerful evidence that the motives of these institutions are not sincere, they're not pure, they don't have the best interest of our infants and of our children at heart. And they are all about self enrichment and all about money. And the American people, I think, are increasingly waking up to that reality.
Yeah, I think they are. I think the people are waking up. And I just hope that we see a good outcome today that'll be an encouragement that we're gaining some momentum. This ACIP hearing, the what did we just say that it stands for?
It's the
Sorry, it's a
Advisory Committee on Immunization Protocol or Immunization Practices, ACIP.
something, yeah, something like that. And our own Dr. Evelyn Griffin was just appointed to that. Someone who loves the Lord, someone who loves truth. So we have to be encouraged that we know, and I believe we were just saying before the show that Dr. Robert Malone had previously been appointed to that committee. So I'm very prayerful that we'll see some good outcomes and start feeling like we're having some wins on this front, because babies are being born every day, and these unnecessary, um, not only unnecessary but known harmful things are being done to infants every single day. And I think about some of my own family members and friends who just, they are in the healthcare industry, so they just trust that what they've learned is true, and that what we say on the outside, people who are not in the healthcare industry, and even people who are in the healthcare industry that question,
Yeah.
they think that we are nuts. They think that we are telling them to do something that's going to hurt their child. And that's still a cause of great contention within families.
Absolutely. I mean, it's caused, fractions, it's caused divisions within families, it's caused families to become alienated from one another.
Yeah.
And, Danielle, I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who probably deep down in their hearts do have regrets about having taken the COVID shot and given it to their kids. But it's very, very difficult to admit when you're invested in something and you realize that you've been completely bamboozled. Sometimes it's difficult to admit that. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's difficult to hear the truth, you know, when you've been invested in a narrative for that long. But we have to tell the truth. We're going to continue to tell the truth right
That's right.
here on the State of Freedom. And we're going to continue to expand that truth across the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, we are. And if you are listening for the first time, please go to freedomstate.us, visit us, and you can check out previous episodes there. You can see a little bit more of what we're about, and you can support us if this aligns with you. If you are resonating with what you've heard here today, we'd love for you to support the State of Freedom.
Yeah, and advertise with us. Whatever it is that you have, Danielle and I will look at it. If we believe in the product or we believe in your vision and what your goals and objectives are, we will absolutely advertise and promote that right here on the State of Freedom, the number one conservative political podcast in the state of Louisiana that uniquely delivers the truth, uncensored, and unapologetically. And I'm very proud to be associated with the State of Freedom for that reason. So the more you support us, the more you donate to us, the more you subscribe and share, the broader our voice will become in Louisiana and beyond. Because I can tell you, Danielle, there are a lot of people who don't live in Louisiana who listen to the State of Freedom, and we're very thankful for them as well. But
That's
I am,
right.
but I'm so thankful to be with you here today, Danielle. And this to me was a show that was so very important to have today.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a quick announcement. Um, on Tuesday, we'll be back here, 10 a.m. Central, and we will be speaking with Walter Charlton, who is an attorney that's going after Act Blue, I believe, in a big RICO case. So that is going to be fascinating, very enlightening, and I am really looking forward to that. And like you said, Chris, Dr. Bowden, absolutely extraordinary. Her message should just cut straight to the heart of people. And I mean, people have to understand that a lot of people like her have stood up against all odds, have stood up against a beast, and they deserve to be honored. They deserve our respect, and they deserve to win their lawsuits a lot of money. I hope they win a lot of money.
She's an American patriot in this sphere, just like Tina Peters is an American patriot in the sphere of election security. I put them on the same level. So thankful to have people like that out there, and we're going to continue to promote them every opportunity we get. So
Yeah.
God bless you, Danielle, and thank you for another opportunity to come in and advance the truth on the State of Freedom.
Thanks, Chris. God bless you. If you're looking to invest in physical precious metals or convert your 401k to a precious metals backed IRA, please consider making your investment with our trusted partner, MetalStacks. Their prices regularly beat the big sites, and they have no credit card fees or minimums. Shipping is free for orders over $500. Just visit metalstacks.com/dwalker or get there from our website, freedomstate.us. If you're interested in the IRA conversion, drop me a message at danielle@freedomstate.us and I can get you connected with their white glove service. Hey, Danielle Walker here. I'd love for you to check out my online boutique, Lux Lion. My mission for Lux Lion is to showcase innovative African designers and sustainable, mission-driven brands. To do that, I bring you stunningly beautiful handcrafted jewelry and accessories from some of my absolute favorite places on earth. Small batch wholesale for storefronts is also available. Join me in celebrating African artistry and shop now at luxlion.us. Use promo code FREEDOM for an additional 10% off your purchase. Thanks for joining us today on the State of Freedom. Be sure and check out the show notes for this episode. You can always go there and find the calls to action and resources mentioned in the show, and you can find out more information about our advertisers there as well. If you want to learn more about us or support our work, visit freedomstate.us. To get involved with Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group, visit lacag.org. We'll see you next time. God bless.